The episode went live the next morning. It trended. And with it came an email from someone unexpected. Subject: High school invite, please read. From Coach Wallace, Ridge Point High School, my old coach. Message: Tessa, we've been following your story. Some of our players are going through identity stuff and could really use your voice. We're holding an alumni night next month. Would you consider speaking? I reread the message 3 times. They weren't asking Tyler to come back. They were asking Tessa. The last time I walked the halls of Ridge Point High, I was wearing a Letterman jacket and pretending to care about prom dates and protein shakes. Now I was walking back in low heels, soft curls brushing my shoulders, a navy blouse tucked into a pleated skirt, and a satin clutch clutched tightly under one arm. This time, I wasn't Tyler Grant, quarterback. I was Tessa. And everyone would know it. Coach Wallace met me outside the gymnasium, where the alumni night was being hosted. He hadn't changed much, same clipboard, same booming voice, same stubborn jawline. Except now, he looked a little nervous. Tessa, he said, trying out the name. I nodded. That's me. He gave a small, respectful nod. Thanks for coming. Means a lot to the kids. Means a lot to me too, I replied, and meant it. The bleachers were already filling with current students, faculty, and some familiar faces I hadn't seen since graduation. A few of my old teammates were scattered near the back, their faces a cocktail of confusion, recognition, and maybe a little respect. I kept my speech simple. No slogans. No soapbox. Just my story. I told them how it started as a dare. How putting on makeup had opened a door I didn't even know existed. I talked about fear. And shame. And finally, acceptance. And when I was done, I said, it took everything in me to step into this version of myself. And I don't regret it for a second. Applause. Real. Echoing. Even from the back row, after the talk, students lined up to speak with me. Some just said, thank you. Others whispered their own identities, like secrets they hadn't dared speak aloud. Then someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned. And nearly dropped my purse. Jordan. He smiled. Jordan Hayes, my backup receiver from high school. We'd shared more late-night strategy talks than I could count. He was quiet, thoughtful, and secretly brilliant. I hadn't seen him since senior year. Now, he stood in front of me with dyed blonde hair, a thin silver chain around his neck, and the same warm, intelligent eyes. You look good, Tessa, he said, like it wasn't even a question. So do you, I replied. It's been forever. I moved out west after graduation, he said. Came out last year. As gay. Took some time. My jaw twitched into a smile. I had no idea. Neither did I, he laughed softly. Until I started seeing your story online. That stopped me. My story? Yeah, he said, eyes serious now. You showing up like this? It gave me courage. More than I knew I needed. I swallowed hard. It hit me then. This wasn't just about me anymore. Every step I took in public, every photo, every story, every whispered, I'm Tessa, it rippled. Even when I didn't know it, after everyone left, Jordan and I walked through the empty halls together. It felt surreal. This school hasn't changed at all, I said. Except you did, he replied, glancing sideways. I'm not sure I ever really was who they thought I was, I admitted. He smiled gently. Maybe that's the bravest part. As we stood by the trophy case where my old football photo still hung, Tyler Grant, MVP 2021, he looked at me and said, You gonna change that nameplate one day? I smiled. Maybe I already did. Back at the hotel that night, I took off my makeup slowly, my reflection soft and blurry in the mirror. But something was crystal clear. Tessa wasn't just something I did. She was someone I was. And she was being seen. The email came on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. I was sitting in the campus cafe, halfway through rewriting an English lit essay and nursing a lukewarm mocha when my phone buzzed. Subject: Fellowship Application Recommendation Urgent. From Dr. Candace Rowe, Director of the Aurora Foundation for Gender Inclusion in Athletics. I blinked. I hadn't applied to anything called Aurora. Hadn't even heard of it. But I opened the email anyway. Dear Tessa Grant. You may not know us yet, but we know you. Your story has inspired thousands and has become a case study in resilience, visibility, and the future of inclusive athletics. We're offering you a place in our 2025 Aurora Fellowship Cohort, a one-year, fully funded program in New York City focused on policy, media training, and advocacy in gender-diverse sports leadership. This is not just a scholarship, it's a spotlight, a voice, a future. The decision is yours. But know this, the world is watching. And it's ready for you. Warmly, Dr. Candace Rowe, Aurora Foundation. My hand shook. A fully funded year in NYC. A chance to tell stories, create change, lead. But it meant leaving the team. Leaving college ball. And possibly closing the book on Tyler, for good. I showed the email to Mandy first. She was speechless for a second, and that never happened with Mandy. Then, holy sh*T. This is real. I nodded. You have to go, she said. I don't know, I whispered. She sat beside me. Tessa, you've already broken more barriers just existing than most people do trying. But this could be your next chapter. I'm not sure I'm ready to give up football. Mandy touched my arm gently. You're not giving up anything. You're evolving. Tyler may have been the one with the arm, but Tessa? She's got the voice. Still, I hesitated. So I called the only person who could understand both sides of me. Sarah. We met at the park. She brought a blanket and 2 iced teas like it was still summer, even though it wasn't. I got offered something, I said after a long pause. She listened as I explained. When I was done, she said nothing at first. Just stared out at the pond. Then she looked at me. Here's what I think, she said. Tyler played football because he thought it was the only way to matter. I nodded slowly. But you, Tessa? You don't play for approval. You exist for truth. You lead by being exactly who you are. Tears welled in my eyes. What if I'm not enough off the field? Sarah smiled softly. Then let them find out the hard way. I sat with the decision for 3 days. I practiced with the team. I helped Liam with econ homework. I played 2 quarters of one of the tightest games we'd ever had, and I threw a game-winning touchdown. The crowd screamed. I smiled. But it wasn't everything anymore. That night, I packed the green wrap dress into my duffel bag, the same one I'd once used to hide her. Now, I was taking her to the world. I emailed Dr. Rowe back. Dear Dr. Rowe, I accept. With pride and with purpose. Tessa Grant. The next morning, I told the team. Logan clapped me on the back. Then saluted me like a weirdo. Coach Dave hugged me and whispered, make some noise out there. And Liam? He just said, guess I'll have to get 2 photos with you now. One for football, and one for the world stage. New York was everything I expected. And absolutely nothing like I was prepared for. The skyline felt like it stretched into forever, glittering with 1,000 promises. The air was fast, unapologetic, and loud. Every block smelled like ambition and garlic and the past lives of 10 million people. And there I was. A girl in a soft gray blazer and ankle boots, wheeling a too small suitcase behind her, eyes wide beneath mascara and hope. Tessa Grant. Aurora Fellow. Face of inclusive athletics. Or so they said. The apartment Aurora provided was small but clean. 3rd floor walk-up, creaky wood floors, an old radiator that hissed like it held secrets. I unpacked carefully. The green wrap dress got its own hanger. The cleats? They stayed in the duffel bag. Just in case. Orientation was intense. Media coaching, policy workshops, public speaking drills. We weren't just being trained, we were being shaped into leaders. Most of the other fellows were older. More experienced. There was Ava, a retired MMA fighter who once beat a guy with a broken thumb. Jonah, a non-binary researcher who had already published 2 books. Even the shyest among them had stories carved in fire and resilience. And then there was me, the football girl. Some looked at me like I was brave. Others, like I was lucky. Imposter syndrome crept in fast. Back home, I was a trailblazer. Here, I was barely a headline. One night, after a brutal media Q&A mock-up where I froze on stage, I went home and sat in front of the mirror. Makeup smudged. Lashes drooping. Confidence shattered. I don't belong here, I whispered. But the reflection looked back with the same soft eyes that first met me in Mandy's apartment on that very first night. She didn't blink, didn't flinch, just waited for me to remember. 2 weeks into the program, we had our first major event, a panel at a citywide conference on gender identity in competitive sports. I wore a dark plum blazer dress, clean lines, hair pinned back with silver clips. The name tag read, Tessa Grant, former college quarterback, Aurora Fellow. I expected nerves. What I didn't expect was Jordan. Yes, that Jordan. From Ridge Point High. The boy who'd once called me brave in front of my old trophy case. He was sitting in the audience. His hair was still that messy cute blonde, but now he wore glasses and a confident smirk. He waved slightly. After the panel, he approached. I heard you were in New York, he said. Didn't think I'd bump into you at a gender politics conference. I grinned. Didn't think you'd be here either. I'm getting my master's at NYU, he said. Queer theory and media. Of course he was. We ended up getting coffee. 1 hour turned into 2. I followed your whole story, he said. The scholarship. The post. The speech back home. All of it. That's embarrassing, I said with a blush. It's inspiring, he corrected. You made me feel seen before I even knew how to see myself. That stuck with me. Especially when he added, you should know something. You don't have to prove yourself to belong. You already do. Over the next few weeks, we saw more of each other. Coffee breaks. Late night walks. Shared silence under the subway hum. He never pushed. Never asked too much. Just saw me. And slowly, I began to see myself again too. Not as a football player. Not as a token trans athlete. But as Tessa, the girl who dared to try point one night. Walking through the rain on 6th Avenue, he stopped under an awning. You know, he said, brushing a wet strand of hair from my face, I used to have the biggest crush on Tyler Grant. I laughed. That explains the post-game granola bars you always gave me. He stepped closer. But I think I might be falling for Tessa. I stared, heart pounding. And then I kissed him. Right there. Rain, taxis, and city noise all around. And it didn't feel like something forbidden. It felt like freedom. The ballroom was packed. 400 people. City officials. Athletes. Activists. The largest crowd I'd ever stood in front of, and this time, I wasn't wearing shoulder pads. I was wearing a custom-tailored navy jumpsuit. Hair pinned in soft waves. Minimalist makeup, save for the bold lipstick Mandy had insisted on via video call the night before. I stood behind the curtain, clutching my notes. Tessa Grant, keynote speaker, Aurora Fellowship closing ceremony. Somewhere out there was a stage, a microphone, and an identity I'd spent a lifetime uncovering. Backstage, Jordan squeezed my hand. You've already won, he said quietly. All that's left is to speak. I nodded and stepped out. The lights hit me. The silence of an expecting crowd was louder than any football stadium I'd played in. But I didn't flinch. I looked down at the podium, then up at the audience, and began. I used to think identity was something you earned. A reward. A prize at the end of a long performance. I played quarterback. I kept my hair short. I said, bro, and laughed at the right jokes. And I thought that made me safe. But the truth? I was hiding. Not from the world, but from myself. It took one dare, one cheap wig, and one terrifying mirror to meet the girl who had been waiting for me all along. Her name was Tessa. And the scariest part wasn't becoming her. It was realizing how much I already was her. Some people saw a distraction. Others saw a story. But I saw a life I didn't want to run from anymore. The room was silent. Some were crying. Some were nodding. One person in the front row clutched their chest like they were physically holding back emotion. I took a deep breath. I didn't transition on national TV. I didn't break world records. I didn't get everything right. But I stood. And I spoke. And I wore heels to practice and mascara to media day. And for someone out there, that was enough to feel brave too. Visibility is not a crown. It's a torch. You don't wear it. You carry it for the ones still in the dark. To every athlete who doesn't fit the mold. To every teen staring into the mirror, not recognizing their reflection. And to every parent learning to love a child they never expected, this is for you. I closed the speech with a smile. My name is Tessa Grant. I was a quarterback. I am a daughter, a speaker, a woman. And I'm just getting started. The applause didn't come all at once. It rolled in, like thunder building in a clear sky. Then people stood. A standing ovation. For me. Tessa. Afterward, backstage, a voice called out, "Excuse me, Miss Grant?" I turned. And there she was. Coach Leclerc. From the scholarship hearing. The one who'd once asked, "What if sponsors complain?" She looked older. Softer somehow. "I just wanted to say," she said, "you proved me wrong. And I've never been prouder to be wrong." I smiled. "Thank you." She hesitated. Then handed me something. A laminated card. My original student ID photo, Tyler, crossed out. Underneath, a new one. Tessa Grant. She/her. "Your alma mater asked me to deliver it personally." I nearly cried. Later, Jordan and I walked down Broadway hand in hand, my heels clicking softly on the pavement. "Where do we go from here?" I asked. He looked at me, grinning. "Anywhere you want, quarterback." I laughed. But this time, it wasn't nervous. Because I knew exactly who I was. Not just in dresses. Not just on stage. Not just online. But in every version of myself, the scared kid, the daring girl, the confident woman. The mirror no longer showed a stranger. It showed me. And I was beautiful. 6 months later. Tessa Grant stood on the edge of a turf field in Queens, New York, wind tugging gently at her hair, a whistle looped around her fingers. The high school girls' flag football team was stretching, their neon orange scrimmage jerseys billowing like sails. They didn't know much about her past, just that Coach Grant was kind, fast, and always wore great eyeliner on game days. They didn't know she'd once been a college quarterback. They didn't know she'd once hidden in locker rooms afraid to exhale. All they knew was, she believed in them. And that was enough. Tessa smiled as she watched them line up for warm-ups. On her clipboard was a play she'd redesigned last night, inspired by something she'd run back in her Tyler days. It still worked. Even better now. Across the field, a student journalist waited nervously with a mic and a notebook. She was doing a feature on women leading sports in NYC. "Coach Grant?" the girl asked. "Yes," Tessa said, walking over, pushing her sunglasses up. "What do you want these girls to remember after playing under you?" Tessa thought for a moment, then smiled. That strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it walks in heels. Sometimes it throws a perfect spiral. And sometimes it looks like them learning to own the field unapologetically. The girls scribbled furiously, eyes wide. "And your legacy?" she asked. "What do you want that to be?" Tessa looked out at her team. The girls. The plays. The future. And then she said, with a quiet kind of pride, that I didn't just play the game. I changed the rules so more of us could play it too. Back in her apartment that night, she walked past her closet. One end held dresses and shoes. The other, a worn duffel bag with a pair of cleats inside and something new. A custom jersey. Dark green, gold lettering. Across the back. Grant. Tessa. She smiled. Ran her fingers over the fabric. And then, she hung it up proudly right in the center. Because this time, she wasn't hiding anything.